Serious. What was something you saw you were definitely not supposed to see? Leaving work late one evening, I saw the HR director and CFO in a dark office shredding papers. No, that's not a euphemism. I didn't say anything but quietly walked on down the hall. 2 weeks later we were raided by the SEC and several people were charged with cooking the books. I found a letter between my parents back when my dad was in the army 10 years before I was born. When cleaning out the house, he was saying how they should get a divorce because it just wasn't seeming to work out. 16 years after I was born they did end up getting a divorce. I've never talked to them about it. Back in 1997, I started work at a new job and took over the office of a salesman who had recently been fired. I was in IT, using the same computer that had been set up for sales. My first task was to install all the software I'd need. The computer hard drive was almost full, so I poked around and found a ton of folders filled with went to my supervisor, and he said to delete it, warning me that the salesman had been fired for downloading. Over the next few weeks, I kept finding secret folders on the company's network. Not only had he downloaded enough to max out his computer's HD, he had the network at about 90% capacity. When I was done deleting all the folders I could find, the server capacity was less than 50%. Dude was seriously addicted to Worked for a downtown metropolitan hotel for a long time, and I've seen a lot I wasn't supposed to see. Probably the worst was a kid with an old man. Checked this guy in at like 1 in the morning, not uncommon because people travel different times, but he was alone. Like an hour later he asked for something like a towel or blanket. Anyways, dispatched our runner to deliver it. After the runner comes to me and says he thinks something is wrong because he caught a glimpse of someone and the old guy was trying hard to block the entrance. Being that we were supposed to take stuff like human trafficking seriously, I asked our maintenance to cut his power so we would get a call to come up to try and fix the problem. He does, and I go up with him to apologize for the inconvenience because the guy was also a TOR tier member. Sure enough we hear a kid in the bathroom hiding. Tried to ask who the kid was and the old guy tried everything to shut us down from throwing his status around to bribing. Called the cops and let them deal with it. When I was about 16, I was snooping in my parents' wardrobe, found a diary written by my mother when she was 14 from the year 1970, read some beautiful and brilliantly written entries about meeting and dating my dad, who was 16 at the time. Had to read a little between the lines in some slightly later entries as they were written with such flowery language. In one such entry, all of a sudden she discloses that she lost a baby. My grandfather helped with this, an anesthesiologist. She never told anyone. Just 2 days ago, at a community pool, a teenage couple who entered into the pool area went into the hot tub, stood up to stretch my legs and looked over to, well, in the hot tub. It was midday. I cringed pretty hard, but I laughed even harder when the neighborhood cop showed up. Found out a relative who everyone believes to be filthy rich and always throws extravagant parties. Put his kids in expensive private schools. His wife shopping and eating fine dining. Is broke and closets declaring bankruptcy. He's in deep debt and that he hasn't paid his bills in months, and from what I could see, he owes a loan shark too. Now, every time I see him post an invite to my mom, I cringe at the thought of him owing more money. My mom knows, but I never told her. She just knows. I was in elementary school playing basketball. I shot the ball but it ended up going over the fence on the other side was someone's backyard. My teacher requested that after school I knock on the door of the house where the ball had landed to get it back, and so I did. I did not expect a woman wrapped in a towel with her torso revealed to answer the door. I was shocked but carried on with my mission. For those wondering, she stated she did not have the ball. I found a suitcase full of toys under my mom's bed when I was 8. I once arrived early to pick up a girl for a first date. She was renting a small garden apartment behind a bigger house. It was just after dusk and I walked around the corner. The sliding door was standing open and she was inside walking around, brushing her hair, wearing only her underwear. She did not see me, so I just walked back around that corner and waited another 10 minutes. When I walked round again she had a dress on. I never told her. Edit. Since a few asked, The date went well. I only got to see her underwear again several weeks later. My mom gave me an old laptop of hers when I was about 13, and I was scrolling through random pics she had left on it of my little brother's football games, and then boom, not so clothed pictures of my mother. Me and a friend snuck away from a house party at 2 a.m. once. We wanted to go to this local abbey. We were exploring the grounds and generally having a nice time when we see two cars stop nearby. Instinctively we hid in some bushes and witnessed what was clearly a large trade. We definitely were not supposed to see that. We waited for them to finish their business and then we headed back to the party. Back when I was a teenager, we hosted a New Zealander at our house for a couple weeks. Guy gets to our place after the flight, and about 10 minutes later I'm walking around my house to see where he's at. The door to his room is partially open, and the dude is laying face down on the bed and humping the everloving out of a pillow. I backed away slowly like Homer when he saw Apu cheating on his wife. I felt bad for the pillow. Edit. For all of you asking, no, it was not a wool pillow and it didn't resemble a sheep. When I was 11 I walked into my mum's bedroom and saw my mum and her husband doing a 69. We never spoke about it. Years later when I was 24 she walked into my bedroom and saw my BF with no clothes on. We never spoke about that either. Years ago a colleague had an old smartphone that he brought in to give to another coworker as theirs broke. The phone was sitting on the new owner's desk but she hadn't yet tried it out, as it was still charging after months of not being used. We were talking about how cool it was with the coworker. Smartphones were not widespread yet, and I picked it up to see how it felt in my hand. I pressed a button and the first thing that I saw was a Google search for lump on R. I quickly put the phone back down. This must have been the last thing he searched for when he last used it a long time ago, and forgot about it. As a kid I saw the scene from Poltergeist where the clown pulls the kid under the bed. My entire bedroom was filled with clown pictures and toys. I was upset. My dad's AA chips. Learned it's why my parents got divorced. Proud of him for being in recovery though. Borrowed my dad's camera. Found out he was gay. I found invitations to my big surprise 18th birthday just lying on the floor a few weeks before the event. I had to act surprised when the time came to walk through the door to the party, which I did. The only thing is, my twin brother also knew, which I didn't know at the time, and let's just say his acting skills are really bad. So we both found out in different ways about the surprise party, but neither of us knew that we found out about it. So when I walked through the door for the surprise, I could tell from his reaction that he knew. I watched Ems try to resuscitate my mother. We were swimming at this place called Cecil's Backyard Water Park. Labor Day weekend. Lots of drinking and partying. My mom was one of the people drinking that day. Last place we saw her, she was in the water drunk. My aunt, her sister, was making food for everyone. And when she finished, she noticed my mom wasn't there and started to worry. We started looking for her but we couldn't find her. We searched bathrooms, ditches, woods, etc. Panic started to set in for our group. 15 minutes passed and I hear someone found her. I turned around, managed to witness a man pulling her from the water. They performed CPR. EMS and police shortly arrived, and tried to save her but couldn't. It's crazy how this one event in my life, an hour of my time, changed everything. About the location, we were at this where some guy literally dug up a big hole and filled it with water. He charged admission for people to enter and it was quite a popular place. 100 plus people on a busy day. As a kid you don't think much of it, but the place was a recipe for disaster. A lot of drunk adults, no lifeguards, and deep waters. We had been there plenty of times, so we felt safe. My supervisor plowing an operator in the work showers. He just looked at me, then looked back at dude's head and started going for broke. I left. None of us ever acted like it happened. I saw my birthday present in advance. I hated it, and wasn't sure whether to tell my girlfriend as much. In the end I just used my advance notice to practice a good, genuinely surprised and grateful reaction. We broke up a few months later because we had so little in common. I've since learned that honesty tends to work better if you want a relationship to work long term. Happened when I was 7. I found the Tom and Jerry DVD I had lost in the back of a drawer. In celebration, I decided to watch it again. By the time my mother walked into the living room and saw me watching I was already scarred for life. She took away the entire DVD collection. Millions being deleted from the accounting software and books being reprinted without those money so that the company wouldn't get a fine for tax evasion, or go bankrupt I guess. I was the one in charge of doing it and I couldn't tell anyone what I was working on for 2 weeks. I was young and I didn't know better. Those guys. Edit. Just to clarify the doing it. I'm not an accountant but an IT guy. I didn't reprint the books or signed anything. I was only asked to delete the data from the system.